welcome back to another episode of the Discovery Pod with Eve. I am Eve Richards. We've got a very special show today, so please make sure you watch this episode on the Discovery Pod with Eve's YouTube channel. I am joined today by my co-host, Tony Blass. Tony, welcome back. I want to know, what have you been working on? I've seen all of your posts on Instagram. It's like every day you're working on a new project. Like, oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I just love acting, so it's just great to be able to be out there doing it again. And, so I just wrapped a film this weekend about a landlord who gets a little handsy with one of the tenants.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm starting a new film next week.
Oh, fantastic. Tony, that's incredible. This episode is going to air in February, but I cannot help but go back to the fires that totally, just affected our community. So many people out there, wishing them safe. How are you guys doing? Are you okay?
Well, we're doing okay. Most of the fire had been on the beach side coming up through the hills. But being in the valley, we were okay. But yesterday there was a big fire that erupted out near Lake Castaic in the north part of the city, and that's where my parents live.
Oh my goodness. How are they doing? Did it affect them?
So far they're okay. They mostly stay in the house anyway, so they just continue to do that.
Wow, I am so sorry. I was just, before we came on camera, I think I was telling you and Tony, how Tony Sweet, that this really affected me in ways that I didn't know. And it's just so sad to see how so many people have lost their homes. Again, from all of us here on the Discovery Pod with Eve, we wish you, stay safe, be strong, and we're sending all of our wishes to you during such a very difficult time, and to our community as well. Tony, we're wrapping up season 2. It's been a fantastic season. I am so grateful for all the wonderful guests who came on the show, to all the co-hosts, including you, Tony. You started the season with me. Then there was Tess, there was Mandy Faison, there was Tyrone, and then Alicia Hampton, and then of course Melissa Smith. Want to thank all of them, including Tony Sweet over there, who's been working tirelessly with his team behind the cameras to bring all of those episodes to life, and of course Roger Neal, who's not in the studio today. He is zooming in, who co-produces the show with me, and he's also my publicist. I thank him for all the hard work. We've actually extended. We're supposed to end the season a while back, but added some more episodes as well. So, Tony, go ahead and...
Okay, well, I'm very excited to interview the host of a podcast. Eve is a British actress, model, philanthropist, producer, based in Beverly Hills, California. She was born in London, raised in Africa, Boston, and Manhattan. She developed a passion for acting, advocacy, and global impact, drawing inspiration from her mother, who was a judge. And hopefully by now, if you've watched the show, you know who I'm talking about. We did a little bit of this in the first season when someone was not able to come in right on time. So we talked about Eve before, but I really wanted to take a deep dive and let you know who the host is and how amazingly special she is. So if that one was all about Eve, this is all about Eve 2, the sequel. So just to give a little background for anyone who doesn't know, Eve's early career included roles at American Express and Macy's Advertising, which shaped her creative and business approach. She actively participates in philanthropic work with organizations like Dress for Success and Mommy's Heart Foundation, supporting women, senior citizens like me, and communities in need. Eve prioritizes well-being, enjoys traveling, and is committed to making a lasting, positive impact through her work and personal endeavors. And I can say personally, she's had a very positive impact on my life. And I'm so, so happy to have met her.
Thank you. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you. No, I really just wanted to have you do this interview. As Roger Neal said earlier off camera, that this is Eve, all about Eve, part 2. There's so much that has happened in terms of how I've evolved from when we actually taped that episode way back in February of 2024 to 2025. So thank you so much for doing the interview.
So let's start with acting. What initially drew you to acting, and how has your journey in the entertainment industry evolved over time?
Wow. Acting is a journey. I started acting when I was a kid because growing up, I have a younger brother in Tang, but I'm a lot older, by maybe 10 years older than him. So I would say from the time I was a kid, my parents were very, very strict. More so my father, he wanted me to be an attorney. And I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. When I came home from school, I would always read books. I wasn't watching TV or doing the things that kids would do. I think it's because, again, of my parents' background. And acting for me was a way to escape and be in my own reality world where I could dream about a different universe. And so my mom decided to get me into high school plays, and I started doing some, acting. So when I was very young, in terms of the journey, as you know, it's a journey. As an actor, as a human being, we're constantly evolving. I look at some of my earlier work, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. So I train with a coach because acting is not something you do by yourself. You have to collaborate with others. But I've been very fortunate to have had some good roles. I'm still out there auditioning like everyone else. It's a game. It's a numbers game. It's almost like being in sales where you constantly apply. Some you get and some you don't get. But I don't take it personal. So I'm constantly evolving. It's a journey. And I just want to keep getting better.
So you said that you're going to be leaving for Texas tomorrow?
Tonight.
Wow.
I have a 6:00 flight.
Okay. So, and you're doing another episode of Surviving the Cartel?
Yes.
So tell us about that. I'm surprised to see you doing what might be considered heavies or, bad guys, bad girls, whatever they say.
You know what? That's interesting. It is. But my character, Victoria Curry, I'm so grateful to 1265 Films for bringing me back. I really liked the script. My character is someone who is very empathetic. My sister, Heavenly, who is one of the leads on the show, during season 1, she dealt with a lot of loss, which is what all of us do. So she was married to one of the leads on the show who plays Frank. So Heavenly was married. She got divorced. She lost her young daughter. Her daughter died. And so I am that voice of reason. And I thought it was a beautiful character. So they're bringing me back. And who knows what's going to happen. But I thought it was a great role because I'm playing a sister, but I'm more empathetic. She's still dealing with drugs, and so she's in a rehab, and so I'm there to help support her. So I think it's a role that I can channel my inner Eve because it's all about being empathetic and being very sympathetic towards my sister.
Okay, so you're not really the villain in this character.
No, I'm not the villain. I'm more or less playing something that I feel like I can embody very well. So I'm playing Victoria Curry, who's a great, nice character.
But I believe you did play a villain in a film recently, and I wanted to ask you, how do you go about bringing the humanity to make a villain understandable and approachable for the audience?
That's a very good question. So I don't know how much I can say about this. It's funny because Roger just sent me the posters for the movie. It's called A Line of Fire. It was produced by David A.R. White, who's the lead actor, and it's got an A-list cast of Cuba Gooding Jr., Katrina Bowman, Jason Patrick, Scott Baio, and quite a few. I was very fortunate that I had a role very complex. She was a born killer. and she comes across, it's two different characters that I'm playing, but I worked with Peter Alice, who did season 1 of the podcast. I was in an acting school, ZA studio, and I trained with Peter, and there's another co-founder, Rob Zimmerman. And even though I'm no longer part of the ZA community, I trained with Peter. And so we spent about 2 weeks every day. Peter, who's so dedicated, and I've got to thank Peter Alice. He was so dedicated. He would come to my house at the time. He lives in LA now, but he was living in San Francisco, and he was in LA. He would come to my house at 6:30 a.m. so we could get ready. We could prepare for this, get me ready for the scene.
Oh, I remember interviewing him. In fact, that's why we did All About Eve 1, because he was caught in an airport.
He was flying into LAX, and there was very heavy storms, or it was windy, and then he was rerouted to Burbank, and we couldn't do the full episode with him.
So just to close up this thing on the acting, with over 30 independent films under your belt, how do you select your roles, and what excites you about a new project?
Wow. So how do I select my roles? I think now, because, acting is like anything else, it's like a platform. So I have a platform. I'm very, very fortunate that I engage with followers on social media, and I have a huge social media presence. Because of that, and I've also been very fortunate to have done graced quite a few magazine covers. I select roles that I think I can. Acting is real life. And I want to select something that I feel like I can go, do not act, but be be the character rather than be the actor. Okay. So I select roles that I think sort of like represent the core, who I am. Although A Line of Fire was a little bit different, but I liked it because this was a character who was narcissistic, but very powerful. So I love powerful roles, because I think working for corporate America, working for American Express, Macy's West, and having parents who were attorneys, a judge, there's something about playing those characters about women who are very successful, women who overcome struggles, because I'm all about female empowerment. I had a role that I really liked last year. I played a CEO, Rose, and she was quite a difficult person. So I kind of like those roles as well. It brings out the other side of me, which I don't get to tap into.
Well, I know empowerment for women is very important to you, both in your philanthropy and advocacy. And I wanted to know what inspired you to get involved with organizations like Dress for Success and Mommy's Heart Foundation.
Wow. Dress for Success is not in LA, but they have it in San Francisco. And I was part of that organization for so many years. I used to live in San Francisco. My mom when I was young, always told my brother and Tang and I that you guys have a good life. There are a lot of people out there struggling. And my mom always said, it's so important to help others. It doesn't have to be financial, but you can help people by donating clothes. And so I read Dress for Success mission statement, which was all about empowering women to have tools to succeed in life and in their professional lives. I just liked what the company as a whole, the organization represented, and I wanted to volunteer for them as a stylist. It was so empowering when I worked there, dressing women coming from all of these various communities and seeing how they were transformed from just someone who came from the streets to a corporate-looking person. That made me a better person. And I made it a mission that I wanted to help anywhere I can with various organizations. It's so empowering. There was another organization that I was involved with last year called I Did Something Good Today. It's supporting senior citizens as well. I was helping them more or less on their social media. Kimberly Lewis, she's an amazing woman. So I look for those type of organizations where I could make a little bit of a difference.
Now, how do you balance the demanding entertainment career with advocacy and philanthropy?
That's a good one in terms of the fact that there's not enough hours in the day, but you prioritize and you see if I'm not acting every day. I'm not reading a script every day, but I try to find a few hours a week to do something that is community related because it makes me feel good. Like when we just had this, with the fires in LA and, going to like last on Sunday, they had something down at the Fire One in Beverly Hills. And I was fortunate to go and just be part of the community, even if it was donating clothes, but it makes you feel like you're doing something good to help others.
And in addition to acting, we have the Discovery Pod with Eve. So how has that influenced your personal growth and perspective on life's challenges?
We've had such amazing guests, and thank you for being part of this journey. I was looking back where we actually taped the very first interview together. It was with Bran. And then I'm looking at where we are today. This journey, I never knew I would do a podcast. It's not something that I even thought about. I know a lot of folks have podcasts, but I shared from last season how losing my father, I wanted to use my voice. Having the podcast has made me a much better person because we've had such amazing guests who've come here and they've shared their stories. I'll give you an example. In December, we did the last episode on, I don't remember when in December, but it was with an actress, Tanya Newbold, she's a producer, she's a life coach, she's a jewelry designer. But one of the things that people always say to me on Instagram is you always look amazing. So when Tanya did the interview, she talked about postpartum depression. You see her, she's beautiful, she's all of that, and you never know what a person goes through. And so discovering about all of this, very, very successful people that you would never think about what goes on behind the scenes. So it's made me more empathetic, and I'm using this to share more positive content in terms of what I share on Instagram. So I think it's made me more resilient, hearing other people's stories and how they were able to overcome all of the difficulties as well.
I know that losing your dad was a very, very impactful, a very difficult experience to have to go through.
Yes.
And that it led in a way to this podcast and using your voice. How do you think he would think you're doing with your podcast?
I ask myself that question all the time. And it's been over a year, and I'm in a much better place where I'm much calmer than I was last season. I know he would be very proud because he was a very proud guy. And he would be like, Eve, even though he would not have said it if he were alive today, like, Eve, I am so proud of all what you're doing. But everything that I do is for my mother and for my father. And I think he was up there in heaven smiling and saying, I knew you could do it. I knew you had it in you, even though you were struggling with all the pain and the grief. But I'm sure he's going to be proud of me and my mother as well. Losing my mom was actually a lot more difficult in the sense that I was so much younger. And my mom was only 52, 53 when she died. So it's been about 20 years when she passed away. But with my dad, it was a little bit different. It was different because my dad had someone who was supposed to be his life partner. And when my dad needed this woman the most, she was not there. My dad got admitted in the hospital. No one knew he was going to die, but she did not go see my father. So it was all of those things that made me very sad for him. I was bleeding for him. This woman, and my dad felt, after my mom died, my relationship with my father changed drastically. My mother was that person who was the voice of reason, and we maintained that very good relationship. I was very close to my parents, so my relationship with my father changed over the years after my mom passed away, because this woman came in and she looked at me as someone that my dad had too much influence over. So she did everything possible to ensure that my relationship with my father changed. So it's not so much regret, but it was very difficult for not just me, but my dad's sisters who are all in Boston. Because one person came and the family dynamic changed. But another thing before closing this out is when my dad was passing away, he realized that everything that his sisters and me had told him about this woman was true. So that's why there was so much pain. Yeah.
So you have a bunch of upcoming projects this year, and I would like to see if, I know you have to be careful about what you talk about, but could you give us a sneak peek into your upcoming book and companion docufilm?
So I'm very, very fortunate to partner with a screenwriter who's called Tony Marinozzi. I've done all of the writing, and so now, but we're going to use he's going to do some of the writing as well. We have different titles. We're hoping the book gets published in June. It's about, it has themes of betrayal, forgiveness, acceptance, grieving. So those are the core themes of the books. It's somewhat of a self-help book, lessons learned from my parents, but with the caveat that my parents got divorced. My parents were very, very successful. They ended up with two losers, two people who wanted to be with them because of all what they could afford from a financial perspective. And so it's looking at their lives and how both of them passed away alone. My mom died alone in London. My father passed away alone. And it's more or less, if I had to envision, picturing both of them in heaven, holding hands and watching over my brother and I. And so it's lessons that other people could learn. Mm-hmm. Was divorce the right thing? Should they have stayed together? They were influenced by others because they were focusing on careers rather than focusing on themselves. And those two people came into their lives and became very disruptive. They were both very, very, very lonely. So my book is about sharing those learnings from my parents. Betrayal, forgiveness, acceptance. It's a human story with the layers. And so the docufilm is also based on that as well.
Now, do you have to go through, do you have any concerns? Do you feel any risk in telling such personal stories publicly? I'm doing this, so I want to honor my parents because I had a very good life. My father was a wonderful man. My mother was a wonderful woman, but they made mistakes in their lives, and it's lessons that others could learn from. There are different books out there, but I'm sharing my story, but in a way that my parents would feel proud. I'm looking at it from a totally different perspective. Did they really have to get divorced? So those are the questions that I'm like, if they had stayed together, maybe they would have been alive. So there's a lot of different unknowns that I'm using this more from an educational perspective to educate others. So it's not so much about telling every. I think that my parents would be proud because I always think about how much do you want to share, and I'm sharing things that I feel my father and my mom would be proud because my dad was very personal. He did not like a lot of things put out there. So I have to be very cautious with what I say as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what can fans expect from your role in A Line of Fire, and how does it differ from your previous work?
It's very different. It's different in the sense that I'm playing a narcissistic character, a woman who is very, very, very powerful without saying too much. But I can say that she has a Cuban father who passed away, who's an ambassador. And so I have two different characters, but I'm not going to say much. So fans just have to stay tuned for when, we start, promoting the movie. But it's different from what I've played because, again, she's a narcissistic, she's a born killer. So you would think, wow, okay, and it's funny because the director, Matt Shapiro, liked my hair as is, but of course, I'm playing two totally different characters, so it'll be interesting to see. I think fans would like it.
Okay. Now, did you use some of your feelings about your father's passing in the character?
There was a little bit of that because when you think about someone who is a born killer, there's a reason why they became a killer, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Her father, who was an ambassador, got killed. And so she could have become a killer because she was trying to get back at the people who killed her father. And so there was that. I had to tap into that emotional in terms of how it felt losing my father. And there was some rawness there, but what I remember mostly is on the days that we were filming in Calabasas last summer, it was 110 degrees, and on the very first day in Calabasas, I was wearing a suit, a black suit, and it was 110. And you couldn't turn on the AC because, of the sound. And so here I am all buttoned up and I'm wearing a something that's like a turtleneck. Oh my goodness, it was hot. And I wasn't relaxed. And the director kept saying, okay, you gotta relax. So we kept doing a few takes because I was just more or less just hot. But then the next day we did it in Woodland Hills as well.
Also hot, I'm guessing.
Very hot, and it was outdoors. But because it was very, very hot, but it was good. It was a great project to be a part of. I am excited to get to see when it comes out, and hopefully you can attend the premiere. It'll be good to see you there supporting.
I can't wait. I've got to see this because I'm really, really curious to see how you portray a killer. Now, I know you're not a killer, right, Eve?
I'm not a killer.
But somehow you have to create a character where it could be, you believably could be.
Well, thanks to Peter Alice. Peter Alice, there again, my coach. We worked for over 2 weeks, and he would come to my house. He was, in LA. He would come to my place at 6:30 a.m. He's like, Eve, are you ready? Talk about dedication. Thank you, Peter.
Well, that would make me want to kill somebody if they came over at 6:30 in the morning.
But of course, and one of the things that is even though Peter was helping coach me, the director had his own vision in terms of what he wanted for the character. So Peter helped get me ready for the role. And then when I got on set, the director sort of redirected and coached me as well. Eve, I think this is how I want it. So I worked with the director. He had a different vision.
Okay, so that reminds me of when Marilyn Monroe was doing a very serious role, Bus Stop, and obviously she had a director, but she also had an acting coach, Stella Adler, on set helping her. And so how do you balance what your acting coach tells you and what your director tells you?
I was prepared because Peter was like, well, what we're doing here, just be prepared. And when you go on set, the director might want something completely different. So I was mentally prepared that even though this was how I had envisioned the character and I had all these different wardrobe outfits that I thought would be good for the character, but the director had a totally different concept. And so all the wardrobe outfits that I had, he was like, nope, let's scrap that. And so you go with, and Peter himself said it, go with what the director recommends. I'm just your coach, but the director, he's directing, so it's his vision.
I got you. So the coach helps you with preparation, but the director actually has the more authority on the performance.
Of course, because you're just working with a coach who's there to coach you, but then when you're on set, you're listening to the director.
It doesn't surprise me at all. You always come on set in an extremely prepared way.
Thank you.
The few times I've gotten to work with you, I've noticed
Quite
that.
a few times.
Quite a few times now, yeah. And you're one of those people who always has a lot of preparation, but also, like you're saying, flexibility in how you could approach it based on what the director wants.
Yeah, it's because it's not my project. I'm just there as it's like anything that you work on. You've got to be flexible. You're collaborating, and it's the director is the director and the producer. It's their vision, right? So I'm just talent, but he was very, very. I got to give him Matt Shapiro. I got to give him a lot of thanks and kudos. Hey Matt, if you get to watch this, thank you, because when the part was written, it was written for a guy, not a woman.
What?
I'm sharing some behind the scenes tips.
Wow. Okay.
Yes,
It's hard to imagine a man playing a role that you could play, but hey,
No, seriously, it was written for with the notion that role was going to be a man. Wow. Somehow. My PR manager back there was able to say, hey, I think Eve is going to be, Roger Neal was like, I think Eve is going to be good in this one. I see her playing this role. And it was rewritten to accommodate me. And I read the script with Peter Alice together. We kept reading. And a lot of the script, because it was written for a man, did not work. Wow. And so I revised it with Peter's and went to Matt, sent him email, and he took a lot and incorporated all of my recommendations into the script. Nice. Like, wow.
Okay.
It was amazing. Even with the idea of me having a Cuban father, he incorporated that to make the story, the character richer. So nice. I was very fortunate.
So in addition to philanthropy and advocacy and acting and the podcast, you're also speaking this year at the Global Women's United Power Summit. What key points will you be addressing regarding visionary leadership and global change?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I haven't even thought about it yet because I've been so busy focusing on others. When they approached me, I thought, again, it's anything supporting women is something that I'm all about, empowering women. But just top of mind, I think my goal is to go out and spread the message of empowerment, regardless of where a person is, whether you're in India, whether you're in Africa. We all have stories to share that can help someone else. And another reason too that I wanted to do this was I had an interview with a guy, Sheriff, who does a podcast, and he interviewed me a while back. And he's originally from Egypt, but I think he lives in Costa Rica, one of those places. The key questions that he kept asking, Eve, tell my audience, how does someone become an actor? How does someone get into the industry? So I'm using my experiences and how I've been able to deal with resiliency to empower these women. And so that's the focus, where we all have different businesses, but I think the core message would be the same in terms of, that resiliency that I believe we all need. And mine as well is surrounding yourselves with people who uplift, who motivate you, because there are times when people have a dream and someone tells them, I don't think you're going to be able to achieve that. And I would tell people, that crowd, never give up. Just keep going, regardless of all the challenges, because you just never know. There's got to be that one person who might see you and believe in you. So it would be a speech about empowering others and focusing on how people can grow amidst all the various challenges in the world. We're going through some challenges globally as well. But I think when people surround themselves with the right people, having mentors, I think is very helpful as well. So that's some of the key points that I think I'm going to focus on.
Okay. So with all of these things that you're doing, how do you maintain your personal sense of balance and well-being?
I talk about that a lot. I use my platform, Instagram, and all the various platforms that I have, because a lot of people had reached out to me several months back on Instagram and said, well, you always look flawless. And I said to them, I thanked them, but the reality is it's hard. It's hard work. Just before we came on camera, I was sharing with you and Tony Sweet how I was very sick. I did not realize that I got sick because the impact of the fires was so devastating and it impacted my health in ways that I did not even know. I exercise consistently every single day. I eat very clean. I do meditation. I do acupuncture, the mindfulness meditation, all of the things that I would think would help keep me mentally zen. But yet I had my blood pressure spiked, which was the first time in my lifetime. And it was very disconcerting. And so I tried to put it out there to the folks who are following me on my various platforms that my focus is I'm not telling people what to do, but I share based on my experiences that it's all about trying to balance. When I take a few days off, and I took some time off after the fires from Instagram, I could not post. I couldn't think of what to post. I was in such a heavy place. So it's realizing when you're in that place that you need to take a step back, because it's always going to be there, right? Fame, whatever it is that a person is going after, it's always going to be there. So I always try to know when my body is telling me to take a step back. And I would take a step back from posting on social media. I would not even look on social media for 2-3 days to help my mental space. I'm not saying anything is wrong, but it's understanding when I need to take a step back.
Yeah.
So I have to prioritize exercise, the clean eating, and it's something I have to do consistently, because once I go off, like the other day when I had pasta and I was like, okay, it's so good, and then I wanted dessert. And I was like, the next day I was like, okay, I'm not doing a smoothie for breakfast. So
did they ever figure out what caused the spike in blood pressure?
It was stress related. It was stress related, and the doctor said I had low salt. And I knew it because I flew back to LA on the 8th. And as I shared with you before we came on air, that I don't get to watch the news as much. Again, I try to protect my mental space. And I was totally oblivious to the fires in LA. So I think it was a combination of being in shock because I saw the fires while I was landing at LAX, and I got home. I had been with family for 3 weeks, coming back to LA, and I'm alone. My mind started going crazy. Like, what about if something happened to me? I just couldn't handle it because every family member was like, oh my God, Eve, you need to get out. And so it became overwhelming. So that's what happened. And the body stress has a way of manifesting itself in many ways. So, yeah.
So it got your attention.
It did.
Now,
it did.
If you had low sodium, does that mean you're eating too healthy?
Tony, you're so funny. First of all, everyone listening should know that Tony here has lost over 90 pounds. I know he's interviewing me, but Tony's journey is also very, very, very inspirational. So it's not just about me. We're sharing Tony's weight loss journey, which we've talked about on various episodes. So he is, fantastic. And I am inspired by his journey as well.
Well, thank you, because you're the one that inspired me. We're doing a film together, a feature film in Sweden, and we're having a romantic kind of interest. I think I can say that much.
Yes.
But no more than that, because very
NDA and all of that.
NDAs and all that. But I really felt like when I was 90 pounds heavier, I just didn't feel believable in that role. You are so young and beautiful, and I was just like, I was feeling old.
No, you, Tony, I think you're very hard on yourself. Even when you were 90 pounds heavier, from what I know, you've always been very energetic because you're so personable, you're so likable that it's so infectious. So I did not see that. Like, it was believable. But again, it's such an incredible journey. I'm just amazed. And thank you for sharing, like, your weight loss journey. And, if you could share with folks what you did to lose.
Well, I went on Wegovy, and I took part in some hormone replacement therapy because
Wow.
my testosterone was low in late life. So the combination of those two things, plus Weight Watchers, which
Inc-
has been there for me since the beginning,
Incredible.
and then of course exercising.
So you're exercising consistently now.
Yes.
Ooh, so I see Tony.
Are we getting to that time? Okay, well, I got to ask you the final question, right? If you could have dinner with any three people, past or present, who would that be and why?
A lot of guests here have talked about Oprah Winfrey. I've got to say Oprah Winfrey because of all the work she does. She's a global icon. She's so inspirational, her journey from Baltimore. Queen Elizabeth would have been someone that if I could have an opportunity to have dinner with. And a lot of guests have talked about Queen Elizabeth as well. And the third person, and I mentioned her during season one, was Malala. The girl from Afghanistan, Malala, but not Afghanistan. I don't remember Malala something. She's the girl. The Taliban's sort of almost killed her when she was very young. Malala something, but her story, her journey of resiliency, is one that I find very, very inspiring. So those would be my guess.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I find you very, very inspiring, and I know that everybody out there is really better for having you in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I want to thank Tony Blass for doing this interview. Obviously, this episode is actually gonna premiere on February 27th. My birthday is February 26th, so it's my birthday episode, which would go live on February 27th. Thank you, Tony Sweet, so much for all the work he's done behind the scenes. Roger Neal, who's not in studio today, but I think this is the final episode that we're taping in the studio. Season 3 comes back in the fall. So everyone, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed each and every episode. So please watch this on the Discovery Pod with Eve's YouTube channel. We're available every Thursday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. You never know who's going to stop by. Until then, thanks again for joining us. And thank you, Tony Blass. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you. Wow.